Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your Washington Commanders update, and I'm your host, CWall, checking in as I do each and every single week to give you the latest and greatest information on the Washington Commanders. Yes, we're starting the show a little bit earlier than we normally do, because there's some things I need to tend to because it is a short week and I have to be in multiple different places before we get going because it's a short week. It's Beat Dallas week. But before we even go to that, because who has real time to talk about that, truthfully? Let's just go ahead and get into the conversation, shall we? Let's just go ahead and get into the conversation. You all know the drill. We play this game of what's your one word? Win, lose, or draw. And sometimes just because I ask the question of what's your one word? And this is the what's your one word to describe the Commanders' loss to the New York Giants. Definitely want to know all of your one words. And you got to have a couple of one words, right? For sure. What are your one words? And Mazdak has already jumped in and said ugly. My sis Joy, CWall team member, always in the chat. Pitiful. And if you resonate with any of these one words, make sure you give them a high five or a shout out. Kim Perry says terrible. Let's see. Joyce says silly. Any more one words come through? Listen, I'm going to pop those up on the screen. My one word, I simply said, and I'm going to use this. I said, this is, and then my one word is unacceptable. I said, this is unacceptable. This has just gone too far. This has gone too far. It's upsetting. Here's another one word. It's unacceptable. It's upsetting. It's gone beyond disappointing at this point. And I see Darius has jumped in and he says coaching. And I will tell you, I have said a few times on this show that no one guessed this. No one guessed this in terms of just what we're all watching at all, right? Just nobody even knows what we're watching anymore. And it seems soon as you think they may have hit a stride in some areas, it gets worse, doesn't it? It just seems like it gets worse. And I am going to share a couple of the media scrums with the team. Terry McLaurin, Jonathan Allen. I am going to share some of those in a moment. But this is a short week. And I'm just going to speak from a division perspective right now. How you haven't won, the Commanders, they haven't won one division game this season. Not one. Not one. Not one. And it almost, and sometimes it's, and I saw Neil's comment, which we put up on the screen, and it was like beyond not being prepared to play. It was almost beyond that. It was almost like they forgot how to play in some instances. It's really unsettling. Seems like as soon as the team announces that there's a sellout crowd at home, it's like the pressure gets to be too much. The moment is too large. It's too big. it's because now we've had these conversations, right? We talked about them not playing 4 quarters of football, right? When are we ever going to see a complete game of football? We've talked about the defense and the challenges on defense. We've talked about all of these things. And here we are in week 11, and they look worse than they did the week before. And it's like, well, what happens? What happened? What is going on? And Coach Rivera does say this word, the consistency. What could possibly be happening where week after week, you look different? Where could that be coming from? Where is the root of that? Where could it possibly be stemming from? Those are all questions that I know that I have, because you got to get to the root of an issue. Because if you take a moment to watch what other teams are doing, and you've heard me say this, some teams are getting better as the season goes on, barring any injury, right? Because there's some teams that have experienced tons of injuries just to key players. The Commanders have experienced some injuries, but not to players where you would think, the game can go on. The game can live on to see another week. But this has now gotten beyond. I mean, we were talking about a New York Giants team where it almost seemed like you just allowed Saquon Barkley to single-handedly beat you. Just that's all it is. And you make some progress. You see some good things. And then the following week is just not there. And if you've just tuned in, you're watching from the Culture from the Couch series, the Washington Commanders Update. I am your host, CWall. This is a live Bowie television recording. Everything we say and do here more than likely will end up on your television screens. Hit the love button, drop a fire emoji, share this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends. We're going to go into a couple of videos. Terry's, the one that we captured from Terry, is pretty short. So we're going to watch Terry really quickly. Drop in the chat your thoughts on what he says in this snippet, and then we'll talk some more, and then we'll get into the presser media scrum with Jonathan Allen.
People that set the tones for winning.
Yeah.
Are you surprised and frustrated that it hasn't happened so far?
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to win at the end of the day. Everybody knows how extremely competitive I am as a leader, as a player, and I'm not the type to point the fingers, but at the same time, each guy has to figure out how you're going to affect this team in a positive way to help us win. And if you're not, then it's probably not the place for you. But at the same time, I'm just going to continue to work and be ready for my opportunities. Sometimes I don't necessarily know when they're going to come, but I just try to stay ready and be positive and try to be part of the solution. So we still got a good part of the season left. We got another division opponent this week, so I'm just looking forward to that opportunity.
So I literally walked away from the game and I said, what is something that I have to say that's positive? And if you have anything positive to say about the game, drop that in the chat. Because I walked away with one thing. Coach Rivera talked about KJ Henry, and I agreed with that. So I said, okay, so that would be 2 things. All right. But the only thing that I could come up with that was positive, which really it wasn't positive, but I said, you know what? Way to go. And that was on the late hit on Sam Howell. What a warrior. What a warrior, right? And what he was able to do in trying to get that touchdown. And when the late hit came in, I said, hey, when the fight broke out, that was my positive thing. I said, hey, one thing about it, They are not going to let anybody, they do not want anybody to hurt Sam. They don't want anybody to hurt anyone on their team. But these guys don't play about Sam. They don't play about him. And so when the fight broke out, that was really my positive takeaway. I said, wow, you look at Curtis Samuel, who's one of the most cool, calm, collected people. And that hit was worth getting put out for. And I wasn't mad about it. I was like, well, hey, can't hit your quarterback like that. You got to take up for your quarterback. That was my positive thing, because I said, hey, those guys really love each other. They weren't going to tolerate that. Now, I must say, if I'm being completely honest, I absolutely was concerned. And Sam, does have a chest injury. He was limited in practice today. So it is what it is. And I want to see that, right. Sadly, the fight was probably the only positive in the game. You really don't know what to say in moments like these. I'm just being honest. You don't know what to say because, hey, yes, we're out there. But as I watch the game, it's like the saying, it was all good a week ago, even when it really wasn't all good. But offensively, it was absolutely better a week ago. And then you see some of the blunders and mistakes that we saw in this game. And you're like, what are we watching? It's difficult to stay objective as media and stay in the journalist reporter role while you're still giving your opinion on how to move things forward. But we're going to keep talking about this, because at this point, I said, you wanted to see more running of the ball. They did that. The ball ends up on the ground. Okay. You want to see more, passes. And now you're throwing, now here come the interceptions. Here come the dropped passes. It's really unsettling. And no game is going to be perfect. There's not going to be any game where there's going to be just a perfect game across the board. And if you play a perfect game, then look out, because a bad game is coming soon. So there's always going to be something that you would bring up and say, this is where you need to improve. This is where things can get better. I mean, even in the Super Bowl, you see mistakes made. These things happen, yes. But when you are in week 11, going on week 12, you have not won any division games. You're playing again on prime time on a Thursday against the Dallas Cowboys. What's going to happen on Thursday? Is everybody even okay enough to play and be in a mindset of winning? How do you even sell out crowd again? And this is how it's received with this type of play? Is it like, again, I'm going to go back to the point of, is it too much? Is the moment too much? I mean, if you're playing in the National Football League, is hey, all due respect to you, all due respect to Tommy DeVito and that team, because you're a professional football player and there's professional coaches on that sideline as well. But you can't get 9 sacks and then have 6 turnovers and end up losing the game. What is even the point? How does that even happen where you have that many sacks and still lose the football game? That's a heck of a takeaway. 9 sacks, third string quarterback playing on the other end, still professionals. And you lose the football game. I posted on my page, and I don't know if you all saw it. My colleague from the Washington Post, Nikki Jabvala, she posted it, where Giants wide receiver Isaiah Hodges, in his media scrum, his presser, he was talking about the team and the defense. And he literally said it in one of his responses that it was clear that the defense hadn't made any adjustments. They were just going to stick with the plan. And this is where you have to ask yourself, is sticking with the plan working? Is it working? Because if it's not working, don't you think it's wise to adjust? Would it be a smart thing to do if you're getting beat to just change? And this is with 9 sacks. You're getting sacks. The offense adjusted, but you didn't. So let me go to Jonathan Allen's media scrum. And while you all are listening to this, definitely drop in the chat what you think what you thinking about what he's saying. And as Joy has here, like, love, share. If you're just tuning in, hit the love button. You still have time to share this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends. Because, hey, listen, I saw Cameron Mingo's comment. He's still in pain after that loss. There's still games to play, everybody. There's still games to play. One being on Thanksgiving Day in a couple of days in Dallas. And I've had fans reach out to me. I've had people talk to me. We'll talk a little bit more about that after, this the media presser with Jonathan Allen. But I'm like, how can I encourage people to watch this? How can I encourage people to spend their hard-earned money to go and watch in person? Spend their Sunday afternoons, spend their Thanksgiving afternoons watching this in the hopes that you're going to see something different than what you have already seen. How do you say all of that with a straight face to tell people to just keep showing up? It's going to get better. It's going to get better. It's week 11. Not real sure what better even looks like at this point, because I thought we were there, at least offensively. I saw the progress, and then they just went right back. Already knew, because we've discussed this on the show, that the defense they're not holding up their end of the bargain. We'd already discussed this. We've already said that. But we saw the offense take a step back as well this week. Huge step back. It's a lot to discuss. It's a lot to think about. And I have to be objective across the board and just say that was bad. This is not good. How you make it better, we can talk about that in a moment, because it's a lot to digest and dissect. But first, let's check out the media scrum with Jonathan Allen.
Pretty good day on defense with all the turnovers kind of putting you guys in a bad position, I guess, when you keep giving the ball to the other team's offense. Do you feel like it was hard for you guys to get a momentum in a positive way?
It's hard to say. I mean, obviously, when you lose a turnover by like we did, you're going to lose. But as a defense, we got to be able to help our offense out. We had a lot of opportunities to get them off the field or get a turnover ourselves and, put them in a position to score. So, I mean, I think defense played okay, but we definitely could have made a couple more plays in our offense out.
John, it was interesting because you guys had 9 sacks, I think, constantly had pressure, but also gave up a lot on the back end. Like, how do you even view the performance You don't get 9 sacks very often, but you gave all up too. So how do you view it?
Hard to say. We got to go back and look at the film. It's kind of been the theme of the season. We'll play really good, and then we'll just have 4 or 5 mental lapses a game that allow for big plays and big games. And until we clean that up, we're never going to be the defense that we can be. So, can't really speak too much about the game until I go back and look at the film.
John, you've seen a lot of different phases, versions of this team each year. It's like, oh, quarterback, it's this, it's that. What do you think right now? What is keeping you guys from having momentum to win games?
I would say learning how to win. When you look at teams around the league who are consistently successful, they know how to win different types of games. They know how to win ugly games. They know how to win offensive games. They know how to win defensive games, special teams games. So for us, we just have to learn how to win in different ways.
John, to that point, learning how to win, is that a player's thing? Is that a coaching thing? How do you learn how to win?
I don't think it's fair to call out only the players or the coaches. I think we both, coaches and players, equally have a hand and responsible for what's going on the field. So it's definitely not how we envision our season going right now, but we're 4-7, and that's the team we put on film. So that's who we are. And until we clean up the things that we're doing and become more consistent and learn how to win, that's what we're going to keep doing.
If you could fix it, just the frustration of one step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 8 plays for 2 quarters, and then all of a sudden, 3 explosives in a row.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating. It goes back and forth. One game the offense will play good, next game the defense will play good. Until we, put it together, this result that's going to keep happening. So, it sucks. Don't really have too much to say, but we just got to go back, look at the film, and get ready for Dallas on a short week.
Jumped in late. What do you feel DeVito was able to take advantage of, especially in the first half?
It's hard to say. A couple plays, I feel like I could have done a better job of putting more pressure on them, making them more comfortable in the pocket. They did a good job of putting him in position to make plays, and at the end of the day, he's an NFL quarterback. I know people aren't going to want to hear that. As a young rookie, I don't know where he's drafted at, but he's in the NFL for a reason. He made the plays he needed to make, to get the win.
Any positives at all from the 9 sacks? Got some people involved, some people on the stat board this year.
Yeah, no, KJ, I was happy for him. After what happened in New England, happy for him to get a sack. Casey's playing lights out. I'm really happy for him. We played good as D-line. I'm not going to say we played great, but we played good. A couple plays we wish you could have back, but I think some of the younger guys are really starting to step into their roles and make plays for us, and now we just got to keep building and growing with them.
John, do you feel like everybody has the mindset they need to be what's left in this season to kind of find that consistency?
I think so, but at the end of the day, the thing that's hard is only one person knows someone's true mindset, and as a team, everybody has to they have to take a hard look at themselves. You're either part of the problem or part of the solution. So, that's up for each individual to look at themselves and figure out what they're doing or not doing that's preventing us from winning.
You're either part of the problem or part of the solution. True. Jonathan's comment also about you got to give equal to coaches and players, because I honestly was like, well, from an offense perspective, right? Let me go back to them, because they were surprisingly not good at all. And I'm like, this isn't so much about the play calls. This is about execution, right? So it definitely, consistency is a thing. Absolutely can appreciate the acknowledgement from Jonathan Allen about, not being consistent, not doing a job. But why does that need to be something that you have to tell people once you get to this level? I think that's where I was kind of like standing there and taking in everything he was saying. And I'm like, well, definitely the how to win. I understand how to win, but you win by going out there and being better than the other team, at least trying to. You can't beat yourselves by not making the play and not executing. So how it's, we can go all day long. He's right. It's equal. Everybody's got to get the smoke. Now, you all have heard me say that. Hey, I give Jack Del Rio a hard time. I have a hard way to go. But if you out there missing tackles, if you're not paying attention to your assignment, if you're blowing coverages, allowing those hey, then I have to do accordingly. And it's something has transpired where just you can see it. It's just the lack of motivation. Now, why would you want anybody to be motivated? Do I think that was a game they should have lost? No, I do not. No, I do not. But then when you see all of the issues and the mistakes that were made on the field, definitely to me, offensively, that was a player execution challenge. Straight up. That's what happened on that side of the ball. We're talking player execution, not protecting the football, not adhering to the plays that are being called, not being ready to go when the ball is getting sent your way, misreading your receivers in their routes. That's what happened on offense. To me, that had nothing to do with the coaching. It had nothing to do with the play calling in game. In game. Okay? That's not what that was. That's player execution, what we saw. On the defense, Jack didn't make the adjustment. He didn't make the adjustment. If anybody had any guess, we've been talking about it since he's been the coordinator. So that's been happening since he's been the coordinator the last 4 years. So that's been happening. And then it just took Giants wide receiver Isaiah Hodgins to say it out loud from an opposing team perspective. We noticed they were just going to keep sticking to their plan. So once we changed, they kept sticking to their plan, took advantage of it. Who wouldn't? So that's where I saw that. But at what point does it click for everybody?